Make some 10 over 10 noise as we present to you the CSICT Joe Mucheru.
Karibu sana.
All right, say yeah. Yeah. Say Joe Mucheru, yeah. Yeah. Welcome, sir. Karibu sana.
Asante, welcome.
Thank you.
First of all, I must say I like your socks.
He's dressed the part. Dressed down Friday.
Dressed down Friday. That's what it's supposed to be. Karibu sana.
Asante.
Welcome to 10 number 10. And of course, I guess people always see you, young. Like I said, happy socks. You look like a guy who is with it. So maybe you can start by telling us, like, how did you, penya tuseme watu wanasema mtu anafikaje haja anakuwa CS. How did you go through? Yeah, paka CS.
Ni ngumu.
How is it then?
You know I started at Kamadura Primary School. Those sides of Limuru. Went through Nairobi Primary, Lenana School. Then I was lucky. My father paid for me to go to the UK. I did economics, computer science, came back, got involved with Wananchi online, internet business. And as I grew in the business and technology, trying to get people online and so on, I think I got to know many people, but more so people got to know what I was doing, including the president. And that's how he selected. But there's no time I believed that I would ever get into government. But I was surprised myself also.
Were you always as focused? I mean, even in your younger years, as you're going through school and things like that, did you know exactly where you wanted to end up? Did you have that level of focus?
What I knew is I wanted to make a difference. I was brought up to know that, you must be someone that makes a difference in people's lives. People should want to know that, they want to be with you, that you made a difference. So that's what I wanted to do. And I enjoyed technology a lot. So that's how I ended up in ICT.
Okay. All right. Yes, you can clap.
So maybe, as a young man going through the ranks, ending up, like you said, Wananchi, Google, then the CS, what are some of the challenges you faced, and maybe what kept you going? Because I'm sure there were some hurdles. It wasn't just a bed of roses.
Hurdles are many. Hurdles, kwanza, when I went to Nairobi Primary, I didn't know English. You know those ones where you start. In fact, when I got to 6th form, because I went to form 6, that's when I discovered some of the songs we were learning in Kikuyu. There's one to another, that we used to sing. And that's where the teacher, Nemwarimo, chair, that's when I understood how English came in. I never went and learned. So you start with challenges like that. And even going overseas, there's many challenges. But for me, my faith in God ensured that I wasn't too fearful or worried. You just do what is best, and I think you can make it. And so my aim has always been to transform lives, to make a difference. And I think God has helped me with that. And that's how I've gone through many of the challenges.
And the people said amen?
Amen.
Hallelujah.
One challenge I think that a lot of young people face these days is keeping the wrong company. And you kind of you start off focused maybe, and you veer off the path a little bit. You have a period of rebellion, a period of kind of losing your way. Were you ever surrounded by people who were pressuring you to sort of get off the path?
Yeah, they were there. I think even today they are many.
How did you deal with that?
I think it's focus. I think my father was always very strict. As we grew up, when you were chapward proper, when you veered off here and there. But if you know where you want to go, then you'll be able to choose your company well. And the people you surround yourself with, if they are going in a certain direction, then even you will end up that way. So I made sure, with the advice that I had even from my grandmother, I was always with the people who I wanted to aspire to be. So people that are doing better than me. And so that's how I always engage.
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
awesome. All right. So now, in the build-up to this week, I mean, your docket has, been on the spotlight because of this new bill, and most, especially the audience that is here, there are a lot of say misconceptions and myths about the new cybercrimes law, and maybe if you can explain to us what does it entail, what was the aim when the stakeholders are meeting and sitting down, what did they want to do?
So first of all, the laws that we have were done even before M-Pesa started.
Okay.
Which means the issues of technology, all the social media we're talking about, weren't really taken into account in the policies and the laws that were there. So we've been using other laws to try and deal with the social media, with the many of the computer crimes that happen. We started the process in 2015. We had many stakeholders. You're talking from Central Bank, NIS, Article 19, we're talking of academia, so many people. And then we went through public participation to make sure everyone gave us their input, the Council of Europe, some people from the US, to make sure that we have, actually, I think it's one of the best laws in the world as far as computer and cybercrime is concerned. The country, we've said we are going to be digital. We want to be digital, we want to transform. How can we do that without having the proper laws and the proper base? So I think the main challenge for most people is that it seems now it's very punitive in terms of the penalties. Yes. To some degree it is, but in places like Uganda, which is just next door, it's life imprisonment for some of these crimes.
Wow.
So it's not, 20 years, 25 years, is not too bad, but why commit the crime in the first place?
Right. Yeah.
You shouldn't. Yeah.
I think the penalties is one thing that hit everyone hard. It kind of like shook everyone into reality, like seeing the figures. Obviously, it's hefty fines there. We're talking about long prison terms, addressing cyberbullies, addressing fake news. We've talked about child pornography,
hacking and password sharing.
Yeah, there's a lot there, and I think for people watching right now, young people watching, they're trying to figure out, how does this affect me directly? What can I do tomorrow that will land me in prison? Yeah. So maybe you can clarify a little bit on the actual, implications for people who are heavy users of the internet, young people.
So I think the first thing is the penalties are heavy, but also the crimes are very heavy that are used. So for instance, people being kidnapped or kids being kidnapped, and people asking for ransom and so on. Those are not small crimes. There's crimes where people are stealing a lot of money from banks, from individuals. So there's all sorts of things that go on. I mean, there's some games that you saw that got people to commit suicide. How do you deal with all these kinds of people? There's things like ransomware. Ransomware is where someone takes over your computer or your machine, and unless you pay them, you're not able to access. And some of these are hospital machines, or things that are very critical for a country. So for that kind of thing, and the fact that we're moving into information and cyber warfare, then it means we must have proper and strict penalties that will protect our people. You can be in your room, say the children, and people still be able to reach you if you have a mobile phone or you have a laptop and you're alone. So how do we manage all this? So the laws are very important, and the key thing is that everybody now needs to understand, what does it mean for you? If you have a job, you've been given a password to a system that is, for instance, say IFMIS, and you go and give your IFMIS password to somebody else and they steal the money, then you'll be in trouble. In the past, it's not been as clear to people, but you get into trouble now, and the penalties are there and they're as clear. I know everyone here knows BMW. BMW is over 100 years old. They are worth about $56 billion, almost $60 billion. Uber, which started just the other day, about 6 years old, is worth over $80 billion. They are worth more than BMW. BMW you can touch, you can do all these things. Uber, so you know that guy at the corner, that's the guy who comes and works with it. It's a software, you can't even touch it.
Yeah.
But it's worth that much more after such a short time. That's why these laws are very important, to ensure that as a country we develop, we grow. And so there's many opportunities. We're trying to create a lot of online jobs, so people will get access to a lot of information about people. Now if they go and give that information out to other people, then it becomes troublesome. You don't want your information out there. We're registering all our school kids. We're putting them into a database system. So imagine now in the Ministry of Education, your child's information is now available to everybody out there. So that's why these are stiff, because it's serious, but it's also a great opportunity.
They have, of course, the heavy social media users, and this is where all the conversation was most bloggers or people who believe that it is in social media where we get quote unquote real news, whistleblowers, so to speak. And I guess they feel they've been targeted, especially by the fake news tag, and trying to explain what exactly that is and the penalties therein. So was it meant to, because there are complaints that maybe it was meant to curb those said whistleblowers who are probably, telling people the truth, and I say it in quotes, about what's really happening?
You say it's whistleblowing without evidence.
Right.
So there are people who get punished. Like, I'm sure there are people here who have been bullied, online. You've followed, people send you all sorts of messages and so on. The fact is, whoever defines, like now, fake news, you'll go to court. And so there's a judge who will decide whether what you put there is true or false. So it's not, Mucheru is not government itself, because everybody thinks this is government clamping down. Right. But we have a judiciary, and that's why it is a law. So you will be taken to court, and then you can explain. You've seen on social media, we have killed people, we have killed some of our presidents, and it's not true. In fact, for some of the personalities, they even show you the car crash, which is not actually true. Now imagine for those families. You've just received a message, your father has died in maybe an accident, or your husband, or it's very, very painful. And therefore, as much as people think they can hide behind technology, now the law will catch up with them. And, there's nothing actually hidden. Some people think it is, but you'll still be found.
There's also a clause within that law that talks about sharing of obscene or intimate photos. Willis and I were discussing the Ifikie Wazazi whole trend that happened recently. Right. And a lot of people are asking for clarification on that. Yeah. So does that mean if you take intimate photos of someone and send them to someone else without their consent, that is a chargeable offense?
Or even post it on a blog, like say Willis busted with someone, and then there are pictures there that are suggesting something.
So I think
so is it still in the whole nudity and obscene?
You see, these laws have existed before in terms of how we should behave.
Okay.
It's not only the NCIC rules or the National Cohesion and Integration Commission. We know what morally is right and what is not right. This will be judged, as I said, when you get to court. But if you start sharing people's pictures, so you have nude pictures of someone and now you want to start blackmailing them, if you put yourself in their shoes, it's very, very painful, and it's traumatizing for many people. I think there's someone who recently, their pictures were shown all over on social media, a very senior person, and they claim that it was blackmail. They said, okay, with their pictures, they were taken long before, if you don't pay us this amount, we'll show. And the pictures went out. Now, those are criminals, and you need to find those people. But at the same time, we have very clear rules on nudity, pornography, and all that in the country. So if you're not following those, the cybercrime bill is not the one coming to interfere. You should always keep to the law.
And what about cyberbullying? Because people hide under names, such as you can find somebody called, I don't know, Big Shoot 27, and then they attack you, they post certain things. So in terms of implementation, is it is there an assurance that huyu Big Shoe 27 tutajua anaitwa John Doe, for example?
As you know, I came from Google in my previous life, and I can tell you many of these companies now are even moving towards removing passwords. But they will be able to give you a secure system. Why? They will know Mucheru always logs in from this place at this time with this machine. So why do you have to keep on checking your password all the time? You get IP addresses, you have MAC addresses, and I'm not going to be too technical, but there is sufficient information that tells us who you are. And that information around you, the people you're sharing information with and so on, that means it's very hard for you to now hide. Whether you give a fake name or not, we'll still be able to find who you are. We're not looking for petty, people will still have their life. People will still enjoy themselves and so on. But when you're committing now a crime, then you will have some severe penalties. Right. It's not everything that will be punished and taken to court, but I think you will see the way we have gone. There are sometimes you see the news or you see what people are doing on social media. It's too much. Including, for instance, some people really do pass away, but the first thing you see is all those gory images being sent online to the families. I won't mention, but our governor in Nyeri, when he had his car accident, the family was learning from pictures on social media. Terrible.
Yeah, I'm looking on Twitter right now, and quite a few questions that came up in the same vein of WhatsApp admins are very worried here, very concerned of if someone posts fake news in my group and I'm a WhatsApp admin, tashikwa. People are quite concerned as to how that will be, taken about.
I think, when you post, it's you who has posted. You have your number.
Yeah.
And your number and your account. So the admin is just an admin. They're not the ones who are posting.
Admin, so relax kidogo.
Admins can relax.
Kuna mtu anataka kuhama. Anasema mimi ni admin wa groups mingi sana. So need to read the bill, maybe.
The law is not here to penalize people or make things harder. It's to get the few people. Yeah. Actually, if you look at the way we use our internet here in Kenya, we've actually mostly been good. It's only that many times the only thing that is brought out is the bad people.
Yeah.
Those are the ones brought out. But majority of Kenyans, of youth, they don't use all this, social media for bad.
Yeah.
So I think everybody should be relaxed unless you're planning to steal from someone. Whether it is, people have been conned, even M-Pesa. Right. Have you received those calls of people telling you tunakuona? Tutumia hii pesa. Those people, we get them.
Yeah.
Now there's proper laws. If they are already locked up, now we lock them up even more if they're from committee. Yeah.
There's a section here also that has been, it's section 24, where they say that a police officer may in special circumstances enter without a warrant any premises in or which the police officer suspects an offense under the act has been or is likely to be committed and take possession of computer systems. So people are afraid that this might be misused by the police or by the state. In terms of you got some information, they go there and they just take it because of that section 24.
So there are two things on that. If someone say your child has been kidnapped,
okay,
now you're talking of someone is got their phones and you know where they are and they are taking off with this child. So do you stop using or accessing their phone to know where this person is so you can rescue them, or do you wait? So this clause is there because there are some circumstances where you actually do need to take action. You are aware that maybe there's going to be a terrorist attack and people are using this technology. You want to go in and immediately act on it. The key thing is that the way the law is structured, you will then have to go and explain later why you access this information without the permission. You have to show that it was necessary to actually do that. So you're not going to be let off for just going and accessing people's data. The other thing is you can always delete information. So you've gone and you've hacked somewhere, you can delete all that or destroy evidence, and once it's gone, it's gone. So that's why you have to go capture that evidence, then you go through the process. But I think it's going to be hard for people to abuse that system because there is audit after. I think our constitution is very clear and it safeguards Kenyans. So I don't think there's any law here that is going to penalize people unfairly. Yep.
There are young people watching who've heard your story of how it is that you made it to where you are, and they might be in the beginning stages of where you were and wondering, you know, as Cabinet Secretary, what opportunities are you affording to young people who might be interested in technology? You know, this is your second term, and they're wondering what opportunities are you giving us for us to be able to excel as well?
So the first thing is, now actually with this cybercrime bill, we can be able to create a lot of jobs, digital jobs. Let me give an example of, you know, what's going on internationally. If you look at many companies, we're going now into artificial intelligence. There's all these things of blockchain. Language is a very key part of everyday life now. So those who are using, say, iPhones, they have Siri. Those with Google, they have, I think it's OK Google and other such things which you can talk to. We need to create our own AI systems or artificial intelligence systems where we translate our own languages so that we don't lose in our culture. You'll find that many countries out there, most of their languages are already online. Africa right now, if you look at Bing, which is the Microsoft platform, there's only 2 African languages. There's Swahili and Afrikaans. Out of 2,000 African languages with over 1 million speakers, the Oromo are over 30 million. Lingala is over 15 million, but they are not there. And if we lose our languages and in translation, then we're going to lose even in future. You're going to have this artificial intelligence gap. You know, we keep talking about technology gap, digital divide. That's what's going to happen. And yet there are a lot of things in our languages that we need to be able to work on, translate, so that we don't lose a lot of our culture. And we are losing because we are picking culture from everywhere else. So I was giving an example of, you know, how do you translate Kimeumana?
Well,
it has beaten.
It has beaten.
We're leaving these things to now Apple and other multinationals to defend for us. No. So there's a lot of opportunity for us to translate in our languages, to actually start creating our own artificial intelligence. So we're talking of digital jobs. We're soon going to be registering all the youth, so that if there's a project going on in Makueni, the youth in Makueni will have a database that you can go to and be able to know all the skills of people available so that they can start working. The big 4. I mean, the president is so committed to transforming lives, and especially of the youth. Today we are meeting with the private sector at State House. Actually, we spent the whole day there. And he was clear. He was saying, look, in the next 5 years, we're going to have an extra 10 million people. 10 million young people coming into the jobs market. What are we going to be doing for them? So we want to create jobs. The big 4 is about, jobs is about transforming lives. So there are things in the health sector. There are things in agriculture, in housing, all these areas, manufacturing. So for the youth and everyone, there's many opportunities. Over 7.1 trillion shillings is what the big 4 is got. So those are all opportunities that they can have.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
So there is.
Thank you.
We had, maybe you can take 2 questions from the audience. I know there were some that were online as well, but maybe you can take question from you. Had a question. Utapanda na magoti.
Let me use yours. Okay, I have 2 questions. The first one is this.
Gina.
My name is Humphrey Jeko. I'm a student, though I haven't specialized in ICT.
Great.
Okay, I have 1 question, or 2 questions, but the first one is this one. Okay, in the near future, do you have any plans of restricting some network lines, like us accessing them? Because as the teenagers, most of us, you find us like, we tend to want to see things which are not good due to emotional pressure, but in real sense, the sites are there. That's the first one. Because you see, in Korea, they have restricted the sites. So if you find accessing the sites, they'll track you, and it's punishable by what we call lynch law. You understand it, right?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
So can I answer that one first?
Yes, you can.
So the first thing is, as a country, and the way our constitution is, we don't want to restrict things. Okay, so we are not going to be censoring and all those things, as a general thing for everybody. So what we are doing is that there is software and systems that are put in place either at home by parents or in businesses, where you can actually create those filters yourself. Because how are we going to innovate? How are we going to move forward? We want people to choose for themselves to do the right thing. And so we are not right now looking at ways of restricting. What we're looking is we'll keep our pipes open, but we'll give you all the tools to make sure you don't have all those pressures. Sawa sawa?
Yeah, that sounds better. Okay, the second and the last question is this one. Okay, are all those online shops that do sell us things we see in social media, are they legalized by the government? Because you tend to find some of them sell unauthentic things to us consumers.
Unauthentic meaning fake.
Yeah,
fake
exactly.
Things.
Yeah. If you didn't understand, that's what I meant.
So first of all, the internet is everywhere. It's not only companies here in Kenya. Once you get online with the whole world. Mm-hmm. And therefore we don't necessarily license companies that are online here in Kenya alone. It's actually global. So in many ways we have, and you will see even in the Computer Cybercrime Bill, we have relations with many different countries to be able to protect the internet and ensure that all these people trying to commit crimes across the world, they will have the law, they will face the law. It's called the mutual recognition, which already exists. So if you find you've bought fake stuff from a website from a different country, you can come to us, and our security people will interface with many of the other agencies across the world, Interpol and so on, and they will be able to catch those criminals.
Mm-hmm. Right.
But be careful. Don't go and just buy anything without verifying who those people are, where. Right. Just get experience, because there are so many people that try and entice you on things that are not right online. Mm-hmm. So try and be sure before you even give your credit card or send money out there. Now you can pay even with M-Pesa outside. So be very careful.
All right.
Is there a lady who has a question other than Willis's daughter over here? Just for gender equality. Is there a lady who has a question in the audience? Ladies, no questions. Mko tu sawa? Mko sawa? Okay. Hao ndio atashikwa.
Well, there is a question, maybe before we'll actually leave, there's a question about, of course, everybody's talking about media freedom being curtailed. We have the Kenya Editors Guild voicing the reservations. I think one of the lawyers, Apollo Boya, voicing his reservations about it. In even the broad definition of fake news and what it entails. While they have, especially during the last electoral period, there was a lot of that. Still, a lot of it sometimes exists. But then, how do we ensure that the freedom of speech and freedom of the media is upheld even with this new law?
Again, the key thing is you end up in court. So there are judges who actually take these decisions, and I think at the moment that the legal system is independent, and they are able to take the decisions and actually come up with the right ruling. We're not in any way curtailing media freedoms. Mm-hmm. As it is today with the Media Council, that is self-regulation, and self-regulation has continued. So journalists should not fear. But out of the 10,000 journalists that we currently have, only 3,000 are licensed. Mm-hmm. Only 3,000 have gone with the Media Council and taken. And yet
I am one of them.
But you find that many of the others will actually write stories that they have not even confirmed whether they're authentic or not. Mm-hmm. And it's not only about government, it's about everybody that they write these stories. But we need to be really cognizant of the fact that media is also part of everyday life. It's also part of what we do. And for me, one of the things I worry about is that people are consuming less and less media and just trying to choose their own news. Why? Because sometimes you'll see the first even 9 stories, they're just almost horror stories on the news. You'll see, these people were murdered, this happened. Yet there's a lot of good news as well. But, media is not moving towards giving good news. So people come out of there thinking, gosh, I should not have watched news because of this and that. Circulation of papers is also going down because, again, it's not news that is developing the country. So in a sense, we're trying to work towards that development, but they have the freedom. Government is not dictating editorially what people should come up with. And again, these laws, it's when you commit a crime that happens, and it's not government. You're taken to court, and the courts decide whether you're guilty or not.
All right.
Yeah. Well, Bwana CS, we appreciate you stopping by. I know you have many other obligations, so we appreciate you taking the time out of your schedule to be here. And of course, continue to encourage everyone to continue to read and understand this law and its implications. One thing we forgot to ask you as you were coming in, I don't know what type of music you like to listen to, because here we like to, dance and listen to music and have a good time. What type of music do you listen to?
More recently, I'm listening to gospel music, and I'm listening to Jimmy Gates a lot because
Jimmy Gates.
he sings a lot in Kikuyu. I'm trying to go back to my roots.
Sijui kama DJ ako na ka Jimmy Gates hapo. Atafuta. But when you were at the age of these guys here, what type of music did you listen to then?
So I think it was reggae. Bob Marley.
Yeah,
at the time it was reggae.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. But now my son is the one who dictates what music we are listening to all the time. But now I have no editorial control on music in the house anymore, in the car. So.
Yeah, that's nice.
Right, so I'd like to say asante sana for coming through. Because of this auspicious moment, lazima tusimame na tupige selfie.
Very good.
Hiyo ni ya kwanza. DJ amepata Jimmy Gate. I would like to say thank you so much. A big round of applause for the CS.
Thank you very much
for coming through.
Asanteni.
Even as tukichukua mpicha hapa na watu unaweza sema iye.